Hello, my name is Brooke Fogelsang, and I'm going to be doing a persuasive speech over the death penalty. Can you imagine a world where horrific crimes are unsolved, where loved ones and victims don't get justice, and where criminals are roaming free? If the death penalty can help us in any way to prevent this, or to just help in general, shouldn't it be worldwide and all over our country? Think about if your loved one was harmed or killed by a criminal, and their sentence was shortened or they got off scot-free. How would that make you feel? With the research I gathered today and the knowledge of how strong I feel, I can say that everything I present today is to benefit the United States, in my opinion. I hope that I can show how the death penalty should be accepted all over the world. We need to enforce the death penalty to allow for justice and to keep our country safe from violent crimes. I'm going to talk about three main topics and how the death penalty can help these. The death penalty helps deter crime. It will also help give justice and closure to victims and their families, and it will also help repeat crime. The first thing I'm going to touch on is deterrence of crime. There would be a major reduction of violent crime rates all over the United States if the death penalty was enforced. An article I found was written or talked about by Michael Summers, a professor at Pepperdine University. Research shows that with every execution, about 74 fewer murders happened the following year. This research has been looked at with stuff for over 26 years, a time period, which means it's very, very reliable. With the same article, Cassie Sunstein, a professor at the University of Chicago, her students and her have gathered research that states that if you refuse to impose capital punishment, it will condemn many innocents to death. Because of this, the criminals are getting the satisfaction against us, and we need to put a strong hand down. These studies have shown if execution increases, murders decrease. So why wouldn't we want the death penalty all over the place? People don't think enforcing the death penalty will reduce crime. When someone thinks about committing a heinous crime and they see someone that just committed that crime gets the death penalty, it'll make them think twice about it. The evidence that I've shown today has proved this tremendously. Even a little decrease is better than an increase or total chaos. Am I right? Fear of the death penalty acts as a psychological deterrent and prevents people from thinking or committing violent crimes. People fear death, especially when they can't control it. Using the death penalty for people who deserve it will allow others to think about and see the consequences in front of them. According to an article called Connect Us, they say the reason that these consequences are shown is to affect a specific behavior. They say people who want to break the law must see the consequences firsthand to think about it and make a difference. Everyone is scared of dying, and they of course they want to prevent that, so they wouldn't do a heinous crime because of that, wouldn't they? The death penalty isn't just about getting rid of one criminal, it's about getting rid of all of them. And if every criminal can see what's happening to the following, they won't want to do it. Not only does this prevent deterrence of crime, but it also can cause justice also can cause families and victims to allow justice. The most hurtful thing is losing a loved one. Imagine you lose a loved one to a criminal and they only get 10 years, or they don't get a sentence at all. That would be horrible. This is why the death penalty is here, to allow justice, and justice is the main thing that is important when something like this happens to a loved one. The death penalty provides some sort of justice and closure for family and victims. According to the former Arkansas State Representative Rebecca Petty, who's gone through something like this with her own daughter, she quotes, "It won't offer closure, but it will close chapters in these families' lives." She says that it takes time, but wouldn't you rather this monster that did this to you feel the same pain that they caused you? I have a video that I'm going to show about a Tulsa family that contains closure that offers closure from their daughter's killer being executed.
Tony and Robert Lambert grabbed Laura and her co-worker Michael Hogan outside a bar and threw them in the trunk of a car. Haney and Lambert were convicted of burning a pair of lights just outside of Sepulveda.
I just can't imagine. I can't go there. My mind. But then back to be their people.
The grieving process would not be easy. 15 grueling years in and out of court. Hayne was sentenced to death and executed in 2003. Carol made the trip to watch.
It was like putting that part of our life behind us, which is a blessing. Sometimes we wish that they could experience what they made other people go through.
That's what makes Lambert's life sentence difficult. His death sentence was overturned because of his mental state. But for Carol, life is just not enough.
And I'm sorry about that, because he doesn't deserve to be living.
A Tulsa mother is left with the what if and the memories of a daughter taken too soon.
I deserve her, but I did. No.
Now, Carol says she's always thinking where and who Laura would be today. She says Oklahoma deserves to forever have the death penalty so that other victims' families can find that same justice she finally received. Darcy Jackson, 2 works for you.
And the board.
Could you imagine that happening to you? Experiencing the constant pain and horror and hate for some person that could all be gone with one consequence? I shouldn't say it could all be gone, but it is a way that you are able to move on to the next chapter, and it is shown that some families believe that that is easier. There is not a specific statistic that says you will gain closure, you won't gain closure from the death penalty. But wouldn't you rather to have the option in your state and to be able to be provided that? Most people think the death penalty is morally proportional. It helps to ensure the punishment matches the crime. Many things support this. I came across a Gallup poll that was taken in 2020 where 55% of Americans agree that the death penalty stops murders or should be for murderers. And that is right here on my screen for you if you want to look at that. A punishment should always fit the crime. I also found a court case, a Supreme Court case, Gregg v. Georgia, established that the death penalty is constitutional as long as it is applied correctly and does not contradict the 8th or 14th Amendment. If you are capable of murder, you are capable of accepting that you deserve the death penalty. People have their own opinion about the death penalty and think that it's not morally right, but you are given choices. And when you choose to take an innocent life and kill them out of cold blood, you should not get the chance to have us pay for your food and pay for you to have somewhere to sleep at night. The idea of every state having the opinion to enforce, or the option to enforce the death penalty, should be a relief. We should want that. We should want to save people from the grief and the hurt and be able to give them the option to allow them to not go through that. Enforcing the death penalty will bring justice and closure to families, but it could also help repeat current crime. When someone goes to jail, you feel a sense of relief. You feel like you're safe and that they can never get out. That's not the case. Multiple times, people have gotten out and they've broken out, they've gotten their sentence reduced. Even this can happen whenever you have a life sentence. People can go on parole. There's a small chance that when those people do come out, that they will recommit the crimes that they did before, and we could be saving innocent lives instead of just putting more in danger. The death penalty can ensure serial killers cannot come back and terrorize people. It eliminates the threat. An article I found, written by Shia Benjamin, states that the death penalty guarantees that convicted murderers will never kill again. It also mentions that convicts that are in jail and get the life sentence end up killing other inmates or guards themselves. From the same article, it talks about convicts being released on parole after serving a part of their sentence and have murdered again, after returning to our society. This can all be avoided if every state has allowed the death penalty to be an option. You wouldn't have to worry, and it would just be over, and you'd get some sort of justice. Fear and worry that could be avoided. Lives that could be saved. Just by willing to allow other states to have the option to enforce the death penalty doesn't mean they have to use it, but it gives them an option to use it if needed. Preventing of repeated offenses, we can ensure public safety. Public safety should be the #1 priority. When that is jeopardized, everything can be dangerous. If a serial killer is between a life sentence and death penalty, personally, I wouldn't want to risk them getting out and being able to hurt other people. Kenneth McDuff. Does that ring a bell? Crime Museum, which is an article that I read, says that he's a serial killer in Texas in 1972. He was caught after killing 3 people and then let go due to the overcrowding after already getting the death penalty. When he returned to society, he was suspected of killing 14 people in total. He was eventually caught and put back on the death penalty. So many lives could have been saved. So many hurtful things could have been taken away. This was a constitutional error, but we need to make sure this can never happen again, and I'm pretty sure it has. Giving the right to enforce the death penalty in every state is the one thing that we can guarantee public safety if these monsters keep coming. I know we can all agree that we would not want Ted Bundy being able to get back on those streets. Now that I have shared my opinions and details and facts with you, what do you think about the death penalty being legal in all states? First, we touched on the death penalty deterring crime. Then we talked about how the death penalty can bring justice to families and victims. And finally, we talked about how the death penalty can prevent repeating crimes. We need to enforce the death penalty to allow for justice and to keep our country safe from repeat violent crimes. In conclusion, I hope that you can use this information if you come across this conversation again and be able to use some of the facts that I gave you in your own argument. I hope that I'm able to show you why the death penalty should be enforced and why it's so important. Think about if this happened to your family and it affected someone in your life. You would want the option to have the death penalty and have the death penalty as an option for every state that needs it. Thank you.